Hello, hello, hello. With the Desmond Bain trade, we shored up our starting shooting guard position. Now, a lot of people are saying the only place that we need an upgrade is the center. And now online, there's a lot of smoke about us trying to make a trade for Nic Claxton. I'll see if that's even a possibility. And if not, I'll give you a few options on other people we can try to target if the teams are willing to make a trade. This is the Orlando Magic Nation, your source for all things Orlando Magic on YouTube. For Orlando Magic fans, by an Orlando Magic fan. I just wanted to say thank you very much for clicking on this video and spending a little bit of time talking Magic with me. Since you're here, click subscribe so you don't miss any content, as well as join the Orlando Magic Nation community. Also, since you're clicking around, click that like button. It really helps the channel out. And lastly, this doesn't have to be a one-way conversation. Below, put in the comments who you think that we should either target or who would be the ideal starting center for this team to make us unstoppable. So let's get started. Nic Claxton. The big hullabaloo online is that we're going to try to now bring in a new starting center because a lot of people are not very happy with the Wendell Carter as being our starting center. I just think that's mostly because he had such a bad year last year. The year prior, he wasn't as bad, especially shooting from three. So he felt like such a negative offensively last year, just due to his shooting woes and him being off injured. Like he's always injured a lot. And because he's not a high flyer, blocking shots, doing a lot of other above the rim things, I think a lot of people feel that the defense isn't where it needs to be if we're going to be a championship defense. If you really look at the advanced metrics, in the end, his defense is pretty good still. He's always in position. He's because he's not a high flyer trying to get every block shot. He's able to be in position to get the rebound. He's able to be in position to at least obstruct the people from trying to shoot within 5 feet. So there's a lot of positives to his game. But I know just not just because, but because of his offense and everything seemed last year that it was just so bogged down when it came to him. Plus, he was in a bad funk for a while, and it just ultimately, of all the spots now that we've added to our backcourt, the only spot really left to upgrade is the center position. Now, for me, I would rather just start Goga instead of Wendell Carter Jr. because if you start Goga, then you have someone that is above a bit more above the rim. He's a bit more pick and roll. He handles the ball up top a little more than Wendell. Wendell basically just kind of goes to the corner, but because Goga can't shoot threes, he's a bit more involved in pick and rolls. He's a bit more of that lead blocker when Franz is trying to make his way to the basket. So that's what I would do, and it's a pretty cheap option with Goga's contract being about $8 million this year and declining next year. It goes down to 7.6, something like that, next year. So that would be my solution, and that would at least, I don't know, it would feel different in the starting lineup. But if we were going to try to go and get someone like Nic Claxton, I put, you know me, I like to bring the numbers. So on the below here's all the stats so that you can see kind of a comparison between all of them. So Nic Claxton as a starter, he started most of the games in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is obviously a rebuilding team, so some of these stats, like he played 70 games, he likely would have played more if they weren't trying to tank. Granted, they kept winning. They won too much to really tank because of because of the coaching staff and all that that they imparted in the team. But either way, these are his stats. 62 games started, 10.4 points a game, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. He had 33 double figures. That just means he scored in double figures 33 times with 11 double doubles. Then off the bench, it is what it is, but he's basically a starter, so that would be that. Wendell is a starter, 51 games, 9 points, about 8 rebounds, and 2 assists a game. Scored in double figures 24 points, excuse me, 24 times, and had 9 double doubles. But off the bench, if you remember last year, Goga had kind of taken over that starting lineup, the starting lineup role. So off the bench, Wendell in 17 games scored about 9 points or 8.5 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, 2 assists, and scored in double figures 6 times. Goga had an interesting year last year, just like pretty much the whole Magic team. We really had some bad juju last year, but Goga as a starter, when Wendell went down, he came in and he took it, and he was doing very well. If you see the stats here, 42 starts; those were mostly at the beginning of the season. 9.1 points total, 8.3 rebounds, and 2.3 assists, and 19 times he scored in double figures. Now, if you remember, he had a concussion or concussion-like symptoms, so he was out for a period of time, about 2 weeks or so, or maybe 3 weeks. I don't remember exactly, but he was out for a period of time. When he came back, you can see this is why I split out his numbers as a starter, because before the concussion. He had 33 games started, 10.3 points, 8 rebounds, or almost 9 rebounds, and almost 3 assists a game. And that's where he scored a bulk of his double figured games. And then he had 14 double doubles as well. Now, when he came back from the concussion, he was only down to in 9 games, he was only about 5 points a game, 7 rebounds a game, 1.4 assists a game, and only scored in double figures twice. One of those was a cheap at the end of the season, double figures. So when he's right, when he's engaged, when he's ready to go, it looks like as a starter he would be just if you look at Claxton's numbers, he'd be a little more productive, to be honest, than Claxton, as well as they're about the same in block shots. They both have 1.4 blocks per game, so there's not that much of a difference. And if you look at the two defensive ratings, the defensive rating is not even a competition. Goga wins outright. Now, Goga on the bench, however, in 28 games, only scored about 4.5 points a game, 4 rebounds, 1.4 assists. So, and scored in double figures 5 times. But as you see, it doesn't feel like he's engaged. I don't know if Goga is just an emotional being or what, but for whatever reason, coming off the bench, just you don't get the best out of him. Especially with last season, Mo being out in the second half, you would have expected that we would have needed Goga to score more, but just like everybody else on the bench unit, he struggled. So maybe this year with a new offense, maybe he would be as productive as well off the bench. But this is why I don't know. For me, I just see it as we start Goga, and if you start Goga, then you have the best of Goga. And then Wendell, as we see off the bench, he scored in double figures 6 out of 17 games. So I think Wendell could still add to the bench unit, especially if he's playing with Mo. Then Mo could be the driving force, of course, the instant offense and be that person. And Wendell could still be over in the corner, just how he was all last year. So I don't know. That's how I would configure things as opposed to bringing in Nic Claxton. Because if you're going to bring in Nic Claxton, he makes about I think it's $25 million this year. But yeah, 25.3 I think $1 million this year. We don't have the salaries, as you know, and as I've mentioned multiple times, we're hard capped at the first apron, so we only have $1.2 million to play with. So if we're going to bring in Nic Claxton, then we have to absolutely match almost dollar for dollar the amount of that we're going to be sending out. So the two that we would likely have to do in a deal like that would have to be Jonathan Isaac and Wendell, and that leaves us right at the bit. I think it's 400 $500,000 difference. Now, I did the trade in the trade machines on Spot Track. It didn't go through because of the amount that on the Brooklyn side, the amount they were accepting just was a little too much. But on the ESPN trade machine, it worked. So I guess theirs is just not as detailed in the rules and what can and can't be done because again, the two would match there, but that's that. So we would that would be no problem. Okay, we trade two guys and we get Nic Claxton. Great. Well, awesome. Then we'd be down to only 13 guys on roster and we need to have 14 guys on roster. And at that point, I think we would save about 500,000, like I said, in that deal. So we'd be at about $2 million, $1.75 million. And the minimum we can offer anybody is, I think it's 1.2 million is what it needs to be for a rookie deal. So we would have to get, I guess, an undrafted rookie and sign them to the minimum of the deal. Now, I guess they might just have to be grateful for it, but we'd have to figure out that. So just to say, if we were to do it, it'd be pretty tricky. There would be a lot of moving parts that would have to be done. But as we've seen, Jeff Weltman has been creative recently. So if that's something that he wanted to do, I think it can be done. Brooklyn, who knows what they're doing, to be honest. So you might be able to take advantage of their front office, to be honest. They're, picking five draft picks this past draft. Maybe they would just want to churn out some more guys. So they would have two veterans that hopefully then they can flip again to get more assets. So we really don't have that many draft picks to play with. So it would have to be a lot of second rounders if we were to do a deal that they would want some draft capital as well. So that's the Nic Claxton part of it. So I was looking at other options, let's say, the cheaper options instead of Nic Claxton. So, uh, another one that everyone's talked about a million years would be Walker Kessler. He's a He's still on his rookie deal, so that's why it's going to be a much cheaper deal, at least for this season. This is his last season on his rookie deal. So then now he has to be extended. So it's early in the offseason. We don't know what's going to happen. There hasn't been any discussions at this point. But if you look at his stats at 58 games, because they're also a tanking team, and they have a very good front office from past jobs that those people in those positions have had, but they are also doing some creative stuff right now. It felt like almost basically gave up Colin Sexton. So who knows? Maybe we could do a deal with for Walker Kessler in 58 games. He had 11 points, 12 rebounds, 1.2 assists, and 2.4 blocks per game. The offense or his defensive rating last year was 114.6. The best he's ever done is 110.8. He had 33, he scored in double figures 33 times last year and had 28 double doubles. So he would be a big difference to the configuration of the defense. I would feel the switching. I'm not saying that he's incapable of switching, but definitely Wendell. That's the positive of Wendell as a starter, or as in that's his superpower. Let's say is that he's able to switch a lot more than a lot of traditional big guys. Because Walker Kessler gets a lot of blocks, but as we see, his defensive rating just isn't the same as either Wendell or Goga. So it could be fit, it could be scheme. He's never had defenders like Desmond Bain or mostly like Anthony Black or Jalen Suggs in the front court. So, or excuse me, in the back court to help him out. So maybe that would change things. But I think that's to me, if we weren't going to just stay in house with who we have at center, I would try to call Utah, see if we can give them 5 second round picks or whatever. It would have to be something ridiculous like that, just because we have no more first round picks really to trade at this point. We would just have to really do some creative accounting and some arm twisting to get that deal done with Utah. And as we know, the Angels are going to be pretty strict, or at least they normally were. The Colin Sexton trade was a bit odd, but anyway, that's that. So this slide here, this bit of more numbers are just more kind of the salaries, just so we can kind of understand some other options, either more deluxe, expensive options and some more cheaper ones. So I feel Bam Adebayo would be great on the Magic, obviously, because then he wouldn't have to worry about the offense. He could just play defense. But if you look at how expensive, first of all, the Heat aren't going to trade with us. Second of all, his salary this year is 37 million. So to get him on our books just this year, we wouldn't be able to compile enough salaries to get him on the team. So he's basically, and then he starts a new contract next year. So you see, boom, he's going to be heck expensive. So Yeah, that's not a really an option. Then we have Nic Claxton. So those are his salary. His salaries are declining every year, kind of like Jalen's. So that would be helpful for us because we're going to need the salary cap relief, especially starting next year. So that 23 million, if we were to trade Jonathan and Wendell for Nic Claxton next year, those two are going to make 32 million. So the 23 million from Nic Claxton would be instantly a $9 million savings, and we're going to need to save every penny that we can. He becomes an unrestricted free agent in the 28-29 season. Another another option, of course, would be Jared Allen. Again, likely the Cleveland Cavaliers would trade with us, but his salary is 20 million this year. Then he also starts a new contract at next year, 28 million, 30 million, and 33 million. So I would say the only other big, the only other option I would say for me would be Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams, the not J Dub, but the other Jalen Williams. As you saw in the playoffs, he was able to at least be a gnat or a thorn in Nikola Jokic's side during the playoffs, and he can shoot. So that would be the only difference of all these other options. All these other options are guys that are lob threats, guys that are post players. Jalen Williams actually can shoot. So that would be the only other option. And he makes about the same as Goga in the next couple of years. So in that respect, it would be actually not horrible trade, and we could trade straight up. So for Jalen Williams, we could just trade Goga and have it. Now we'd be, in my mind, making them better, but at least we would be better as well if we were to do that to have him. His numbers are only like 5 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, something like that. But he only plays 16 minutes, so if he has an extended role, I think his numbers would start to increase, and I think that would be an option, and at least again a low cost option because we're gonna need to maybe checking the pocketbooks. For Walker Kessler, this is his last year of his rookie deal, like I mentioned. So we would have to then sign him. So as long as we can keep that around the same number as Nic Claxton or even Jared Allen, that'd be a bit much. But if we can keep it around $20 million a year, then that would still be a great signing for the Magic moving forward. So that's why, for me, I would say if we're ranking the options, for me, the first option would be just stay with Goga. To be honest, we don't really have a lot of options trading. We don't have a lot of draft capital left. So if we start really dipping into it, we're going to need those low cost salaries in the next few years. So I think we should keep our draft capital as much as possible. So I would have Goga starting, Wendell off the bench. Then if we were going to trade, I would trade for Nic Claxton. Oh, sorry, my next pick would be to get Walker Kessler first, then Nic Claxton. So it would be Goga starting, then Wendell coming off the bench, Walker Kessler, Nic Claxton, and then there'd be no other real options, to be honest, at that point. So that's the verdict. So we'll see what they end up doing in the end. I don't see much happening the rest of the summer, but hey, you never know. That's it. So I want to thank you again for watching. So again, subscribe so that you're not missing any of the content that I create. I basically am trying to put out something at least once a day, and then next week I'm not going to probably be putting up too much just because I'm going to be going to the sports business classroom, which is a course for about a week in Las Vegas. So that one I may not, or next week I might not be putting out as much content, but once I get back, then at that point it's going to be daily content. That's going to be the plan moving forward. So again, click the like button. It helps the show get exposure, and I can continue to grow the channel. So I really appreciate you for spending some time with me, and I hope you're having a great day.